Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Russell here, and over the past year we've seen so much interest being built in the cryptocurrency space, kind of coinciding with the longest bull run and the largest bull run we've seen here in the cryptocurrency community. But it does raise the question, will anybody actually use Bitcoin as a means of transacting in the future? Now, you might have heard about all of the drama with Tesla recently, how they initially said, hey, we're going to accept Bitcoin, and then going back on that statement saying that they were going to pause that program. But apart from Tesla, there are tons of other businesses that are starting to either hold Bitcoin on their balance sheets or actually receive it and accept it as a form of payment for whatever service or product they're offering. But there are some major problems that could stop the widespread adoption of Bitcoin right in its tracks. So in today's video, we're going to go over 3 of the biggest problems with Bitcoin, as well as some potential solutions that could change our financial systems forever. And the first major problem is Bitcoin's slow block verification time. Now, think of it like this. Have you ever had an instance where you went into a store and then maybe you tapped your debit card or your credit card, right? And it said, oh, transaction not approved, or maybe you needed to try again and again and again to get it to work. Like, pretty frustrating, right? Maybe it held you up 5 minutes. It can be pretty frustrating, and that's actually exactly the problem that Bitcoin has when it comes to using it in a transactional way. Right now, Bitcoin's blockchain, the tech that's behind Bitcoin actually verifying every single transaction, well, it takes around 10 minutes, more or less, to verify each block. Now, what that means for you as the user is that if you were to buy something, the person you're buying something from would have to wait around 10 minutes at minimum to verify that the transaction actually went through successfully, allowing you to leave with whatever purchase you made. And you could actually end up waiting even longer depending on the stress on the Bitcoin network and the current fees that you have attached to your transaction, but that's something we're going to get to a little bit later. Now, many people have brought up the fact that this transaction process is rather slow, and they've sort of shifted the narrative of Bitcoin away from this transactional currency into something that's more of a store of value. But apart from that shift in narrative, there are actually some solutions that can allow us to actually use Bitcoin on a more transactional level in a more efficient way. For larger transactions that don't need to be verified as quickly, we could already use Bitcoin as a method of transacting, right? Think about these big payments like your rent payments, your mortgage payments, maybe your car payments, right? Or if you're buying all in cash, you could wait 15 minutes to have these big transactions go through. It wouldn't be that big of a deal. And there are actually companies emerging in this larger and slower transaction space that are starting to accept Bitcoin, which brings me to the sponsor of today's video, LiveRent. LiveRent is an all-in-one rental platform, whether you're a tenant, a landlord, or even a property manager, and they've been leaders in this space since 2018, making this whole process so much easier for everyone involved through their use and their integration of the newest technology. The platform digitizes and accelerates every point along the way of that rental process, and trust me, as a realtor and former renter, I know how drawn out that can usually be. And on top of their AI tech that matches verified landlords to verified renters, well, they are actually one of these companies that's starting to accept cryptocurrency as a form of rent payment, providing a bridge between the rental industry and the cryptocurrency world, which, let's face it, the rental industry is pretty slow to accept new technology. This update gives the platform the ability to accept Bitcoin as a rent payment, and it actually does it from any single cryptocurrency wallet that you could want to pay from for a lower fee than many other traditional payment services. So a huge thanks goes out to LiveRent for sponsoring this video, and I'd encourage you to go check out the platform if you've never taken a look at it before, especially if you're a landlord, a property manager, or somebody who's looking to get into a new rental apartment. But with that said, apart from these larger transactions that wouldn't really struggle with this slow block verification time, there are so many other transactions that would struggle from that, right? Imagine going through a drive-thru to get a coffee and having to wait there 10 minutes for your payment to be verified. It just wouldn't work. For these types of transactions, there are some potential solutions, one of which being the Lightning Network. Now, this is a technology that would allow us to process a whole bunch of transactions off-chain and then bundle those all together and then verify them on the blockchain, allowing for these faster transactions to happen and then later be verified sort of in a big group all at once on the blockchain. To put this technology in simple terms, you can kind of think of it like you're at a bar and you have a tab open, right? You can continuously buy drinks and food food from the bartender, and at the end of the night, you can decide, hey, I want to settle up my tab now. Essentially, that's how the Lightning Network would work. You and another party could choose to settle that bulk amount of transactions all at once at a predetermined time between you and the second party. The next issue for Bitcoin and its usability is its volatility. Now, if you're anyone who's been involved in the cryptocurrency space, you'll know that most cryptocurrencies are quite volatile, meaning their prices will go up and down quite dramatically, and we see this huge recent run as of recently, and even just today, this is a minus 6.28% in value. So imagine that from day to day, something that you're using to be a medium of transaction going up and down in value so drastically. This provides a little bit of a problem for Bitcoin, and it leads me to a story I want to tell you about the $600 million pizza. You see, back on May 22nd, 2010, there was a programmer involved in the cryptocurrency community who said, hey, I'm going to buy my 2 Papa John's pizzas with 10,000 Bitcoins. Now, if you've been following the Bitcoin price, that makes that a pretty expensive pizza. And this sort of highlights the issues with volatility when it comes to making payments with Bitcoin, right? You never really know what that Bitcoin's going to be worth in the future. It could be more, it could be less. From someone who's buying something with Bitcoin, you'd be afraid of the Bitcoin going up in value and the thing you bought, well, it's likely not going to go up in value alongside Bitcoin. And if you're someone who's accepting Bitcoin, well, there is that risk that potentially someone's going to buy something from you and then the Bitcoin's going to go down in value. So it makes it difficult to sort of project in the long term how your business is going to function. But there is a potential solution here, though it may take some time. Many Bitcoin analysts say that as more people widely adopt Bitcoin, this will likely make the price a lot more stable and less susceptible to these vast swings in terms of value over time. And it could actually get to the point where it's relatively stable, just like a fiat currency, right? Like converting the Canadian dollar to the American dollar. It could fluctuate a little bit, but not so much that it's going to cause major disruptions to businesses and consumers. In addition, stable coins could be a solution for this price volatility, right? Many people recognized, hey, it's not very easy to transact in Bitcoin because of these reasons, so we're going to create different cryptocurrencies that are pegged to some sort of external asset. It makes you think of USDC or US dollar coin, and that's a cryptocurrency that's pegged to the US dollar, so the value of that coin is supposed to stay exactly at $1 as much of the time as it possibly can, making it easier and more predictable to transact with. But now we have to get to one of the biggest issues, in my eyes at least, and that is the fee associated with transacting with certain cryptocurrencies. You see, we mentioned this a little bit earlier in that first section, but with Bitcoin, each and every time you transact, you have to pay a little bit of money, and that goes towards the Bitcoin miner who's working to solve the complex mathematical equation with their computer to verify that block in the blockchain. The fee you pay to this miner is what incentivizes them to do this work that's actually backing up and verifying all of these transactions. But there's a little bit of a problem. As more people adopt Bitcoin, more and more transactions will have to be processed more regularly, right? And as the volume of people who are transacting on the Bitcoin network goes up, well, so do the fees, because the miners need to be rewarded even more in order to include your transaction in that block. For one, this could make the fees go up to the point where it's not actually feasible to transact regularly with Bitcoin, and two, just the fact that these fees can change over time make it not the most stable to run a business on. But again, for this fee problem, there are some potential solutions that people have been proposing. For one, we can connect this back to that Lightning Network idea from the first example that I gave, and if we had this Lightning Network that's doing off-chain verification of all these transactions and only settling once, well, then the fees wouldn't be prohibitive, because for all of those many transactions, we'd only have to pay the fees once, right? So it could drastically lower both the volume on the Bitcoin blockchain as well as the fees that each individual user would have to pay. And there are also other cryptocurrencies that don't use the proof of work model, where you have to pay these cryptocurrency miners in order to verify the transactions on the blockchain. Some cryptocurrencies are switching to something called proof of stake. Now, with proof of stake, each and every individual owner of that cryptocurrency contributes just by owning that cryptocurrency to the verification and the legitimacy of that network, right? You can think of Cardano, that's one that's using this proof of stake model, as well as Ethereum is trying to transition into this as well. And this could also solve some issues that have been major critiques of these cryptocurrencies, that they're using all this energy to mine and solve these complex mathematical equations to verify the transactions. Well, with proof of stake, you don't need to do that, and the energy usage goes way down along with the fees. Now, as of right now, it it doesn't seem like Bitcoin is considering transitioning over to this proof of stake model from their current proof of work model, which is pretty expensive. So it seems like for Bitcoin, their best hope in terms of making this actually functional is to see the implementation of this Lightning Network that we've talked about so much this video. For each of these problems and each of these solutions, it's definitely going to be interesting to watch the future of Bitcoin and all the other cryptocurrencies as they sort of try to struggle with these issues and these questions that many people are asking when it comes to the legitimacy of actually transitioning into this as a means of transacting on a broad scale. It's possible that these changes could be made to Bitcoin, but it's also possible that it could just stay as it is right now. The Lightning Network could potentially not be implemented, and maybe Bitcoin just resigns itself to being a store of value, much like gold is today, right? Think about it, we don't really buy coffees with gold anymore, right? It's just a store of value, and we've sort of switched to fiat currency to transact, right? Maybe Bitcoin will be the gold of the digital generation, and then some other cryptocurrency will take its place that is better innately at being a transactional cryptocurrency. And I really want to know what you think about all of this. I'll say this every time I make a cryptocurrency video. There are so many people out there that know so much more about cryptocurrency than me. So if I've missed something or said something that's a little bit not entirely right, I'm always open to learning. So leave me a comment down there in the description. Let me know what you think of all this. I read every single one and I try to reply to as many as I possibly can. And with all that said, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I really hope this video helped you out at least a little bit, and I'll see you next time.
This channel is supported by viewers like you. Thanks, channel members.